The first thing I noticed was the missing chair. Not the food. Not the flowers. Not the candles burning in the middle of the table. Not even the way my daughter-in-law smiled when she opened the door, like she had already decided what kind of evening I was going to have. It was the chair. One empty place can tell you a whole story if you are old enough to pay attention. And that night, standing in my son's dining room with a warm dish of sweet potatoes in my hands, I counted the chairs around the table twice. One for my son, Michael. One for his wife, Tasha. One for Tasha's mother. One for Tasha's father. One for her brother. One for her brother's wife. One for their cousin from Atlanta. One little high chair for the baby. But none for me. I stood there for a moment, holding that dish so tight my fingers started to ache. Tasha had called it just a small dinner. That is what she said on the phone. Mrs. Carter, it's nothing big. Just a small dinner at the house. You should come by if you want. If you want. Those 3 words should have warned me. People say, if you want, when they are inviting you with one hand and pushing you back with the other. But I ignored it. Because it had been 3 weeks since I had seen my grandson. 3 weeks since I had hugged my son. And a mother can ignore a lot when she is hungry for the sound of her child's voice. So I cooked. I pressed my dress. I put on my pearl earrings. I stood in front of my mirror and told myself, be sweet tonight, Lena. Don't be sensitive. Don't make trouble. That is something women like me tell ourselves too often. Don't be sensitive. Don't make trouble. Don't take it personal. Smile. Be grateful. Stay quiet. But by the time I saw that table with no chair for me, something inside me got very still. Not angry yet. Just still. Like my heart had stopped walking and decided to look around. Tasha took the dish from my hands. Oh, you brought sweet potatoes, she said. She said it kindly enough, but her eyes moved to the table like she did not know where to put them. I thought Michael liked them, I said. He does, she said quickly. But we already have a lot of food. I looked past her into the dining room. Yes, they had food. A whole table full of it. Roast chicken. Rice. Greens. Macaroni. Salad. Cornbread. A cake sitting on the sideboard. Everything looked beautiful. Everything looked prepared. And somehow, in all that preparation, they had forgotten a chair for the woman who raised the man sitting at the head of that table. Michael saw me from the living room and stood. Mama, he said, smiling. For one moment, I forgot the chair. That is the power sons have over mothers. One smile, and pain will step back like it has manners. He came toward me and hugged me. He smelled like the same cologne I bought him 2 Christmases ago. I remembered wrapping it in blue paper, putting a little silver bow on it, and feeling proud because I had saved for it. My baby, I whispered. He laughed softly. Mama, I'm 42. You'll be my baby if you live to be 90. He held me for a second longer, and I felt myself relax. Then Tasha said from behind him, Michael, your mother brought sweet potatoes. The way she said your mother made me notice the room again. Not Mama. Not Miss Lena. Not Grandma Lena. Your mother. Like I was a package delivered to the wrong address. Michael looked at the dish. Oh, good. Mama's sweet potatoes are the best. Tasha smiled. That's nice. Then she turned and carried the dish toward the kitchen, not the table. I watched her go. Michael touched my arm. You okay? I looked at him. There was worry in his eyes, but also something else. A warning. Like he already knew there was no chair. Like he hoped I would not mention it. I'm fine, I said. And that was my first lie of the evening. The house was full of noise. Tasha's family was laughing near the dining room. Her mother, Denise, wore a cream blouse and gold bracelets that clicked every time she moved her hands. Her father sat in Michael's favorite chair like he had always belonged there. Her brother was telling a story about somebody at work, and everyone laughed before he even reached the ending. They looked comfortable. Too comfortable. I do not mean that in an ugly way. A family should be comfortable in a house where they are welcomed. But I stood near the doorway feeling like someone had invited me to watch a life I used to be part of. Michael and Tasha had been married for 7 years. At first, I tried hard with her. I really did. When Michael brought her home the first time, I made dinner. I cleaned the house like the governor was coming. I wore a soft blue dress because Michael once told me blue made me look peaceful. Tasha had been polite. Pretty girl. Smart. Soft voice when she wanted something. Sharp eyes when she thought nobody was watching. She worked in real estate and carried herself like she had read every book on how to look successful. She wore simple jewelry, neutral colors, and perfume that entered a room before she did. I wanted to love her. Not just tolerate her. Love her. Because she loved my son, and I thought that would be enough. But love does not grow well in soil full of little cuts. At first, the cuts were tiny. Too tiny to explain without sounding bitter. She would correct me in front of Michael. Not loudly. Just gently enough to make me look small. "Oh, Mrs. Carter, we don't give the baby sugar." "Oh, Mrs. Carter, Michael doesn't eat like that anymore." "Oh, Mrs. Carter, we're trying to create our own traditions." Mrs. Carter. Always Mrs. Carter. Never Mama Lena, though I told her she could call me that. Never Grandma Lena unless she wanted something. When my grandson, Elijah, was born, I thought things would soften. Babies can bring people together. Sometimes. Other times, babies become another room where someone locks you out. I was allowed to visit, but never too long. I was allowed to hold him, but only after washing my hands twice and sitting in a chair Tasha chose. I was allowed to bring gifts, but not clothes she did not approve. I was allowed to love him, but only inside the lines she drew. Again, I told myself not to be sensitive. She was a new mother. New mothers get nervous. New mothers want control. New mothers sometimes turn fear into rules. So I forgave. And forgave. And forgave again. But the rules kept changing. One Sunday, I could come after church. The next Sunday, it was not a good time. One week, she wanted help. The next week, she said I was overstepping. If I called too much, I was needy. If I did not call, Michael asked why I was distant. I could not win. So I stopped trying to win. I just tried to stay close enough not to lose them. That evening, at the small dinner, Tasha's mother saw me standing and gave a polite smile. "Lena," she said. "Denise." She did not get up. I did not expect her to. We had never been close. Denise was the kind of woman who could insult you without changing her tone. At Elijah's baptism, she had looked at my dress and said, "That color is brave." Brave. Not beautiful. Not nice. Brave. I had smiled because I was holding my grandson and did not want the devil using my mouth in church. Now she looked around the table, then back at me. "Oh," she said. "Are you staying for dinner?" The whole room got quiet for half a second. Not fully quiet. Just enough for my cheeks to get warm. Michael turned quickly. "Of course she is." Tasha came back from the kitchen. "What happened?" Denise smiled. "I was just asking if Lena was eating with us." Tasha looked at me. Then at the table. Then she gave a little laugh. "Oh my goodness. I thought Michael told me you might just stop by." Michael frowned. "No, I said Mama was coming." Tasha tilted her head. "Right, but I thought you said she wasn't sure." There it was. The dance. Not a mistake. Not fully a lie. Just enough confusion to make the person being excluded look like the one who misunderstood. I opened my mouth. Then closed it. Michael looked at the table and rubbed the back of his neck. We can grab another chair. Tasha's brother said, I can move over. His wife looked at him, and he stopped. Denise said softly, it is a little tight. A little tight. The table had enough room for flowers, candles, 2 extra serving bowls, and a decorative pumpkin even though it was not Thanksgiving. But not enough room for me. Michael went toward the kitchen. I'll get the folding chair. The folding chair. I watched him pull it from the pantry. A metal folding chair. Silver legs. Black seat. The kind used at church basements and backyard cookouts. He carried it into the dining room and placed it at the corner, between the sideboard and the wall. Not fully at the table. Near it. Close enough to pretend. Far enough to know. He looked at me with apologetic eyes. Mama, is this okay? I wanted to say no. I wanted to say, Michael, look at this table. Look at where you are putting me. Look at how everyone is watching to see if I will swallow this. But I looked at my son. My only son. The child I raised after his father died from a stroke when Michael was 17. The boy who had stood at that funeral trying not to cry because he thought being strong meant hiding pain. The boy I had held in the kitchen the night after the burial when he finally broke down and said, Mama, it's just us now. It's just us now. That sentence had carried me through years. And now, in his house, he was asking if a folding chair in the corner was okay. I smiled. It's fine, baby. Another lie. I sat. The metal was cold under me. Dinner began. People passed plates around me, not to me. Conversations moved in circles I could not enter. Tasha's father asked Michael about a business opportunity. Denise asked Tasha about a charity event. The cousin from Atlanta talked about real estate. The baby babbled in his high chair, and my heart reached for him like a hand. Elijah, I said softly. He looked over and smiled. My whole body warmed. There's my sweet boy, I said. He reached both arms toward me. Gamma. I started to stand. Tasha moved faster. Oh, baby, eat first, she said, wiping his hands. He frowned and reached again. Gamma. Denise laughed. He loves everybody. Everybody. No. He said Gamma. But I sat back down. I learned long ago that if you correct every small erasure, people call you bitter. So I ate quietly. The food was good. I could admit that. The chicken was tender. The greens needed salt, but that was not my business. Michael glanced at me several times. Each time, I smiled. Each smile cost me something. Halfway through dinner, Tasha raised her glass. I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming tonight, she said. It means a lot to have our closest family here. Closest family. I looked down at my plate. Michael did not look at me. That told me he heard it. Tasha continued. And we wanted to share something special with you all. The room changed. Denise put her hand over her mouth. Tasha's brother grinned. Michael smiled, but it looked nervous. Tasha reached for his hand. We're expecting again. Everyone gasped. Denise cried out, oh, my baby. Chairs scraped. People stood. There were hugs. Tears. Laughter. Tasha's father hugged Michael hard. Her brother slapped his back. Denise wrapped both arms around Tasha and cried into her shoulder. I sat in the folding chair, frozen. A new baby. My son was having another child. My grandson was going to be a big brother. Joy rose in me fast. Then pain rose beside it. Because I understood. This was not just a small dinner. This was an announcement. A family announcement. And my chair was missing because I was not supposed to be part of the center of it. I stood slowly. Michael looked over at me. His eyes filled with something like guilt. "Mama," he said. I smiled. Not a fake smile this time. A broken one. "Congratulations, baby." He came toward me and hugged me. I held him tightly. For 1 second, I let myself feel the joy. Another grandchild. Another little soul. Another chance to love. Then Tasha said, "We wanted to keep it intimate." I pulled back from Michael and looked at her. She was smiling. But her eyes were watching me. Waiting. Testing. I nodded. Of course. Denise dabbed her eyes. "We're so blessed to all be here." All. I looked at the folding chair. And that was when the truth settled in my bones. They had not forgotten me. They had placed me exactly where they wanted me. Close enough to say I was invited. Far enough to remind me I was no longer needed. I drove home that night with my sweet potatoes still in the back seat. Untouched. Tasha had never put them on the table. When I left, she handed the dish back to me like a favor. "Oh, Mrs. Carter, don't forget this." The foil was still smooth over the top. Not one spoon mark. Not one taste. I carried it to my car and placed it on the back seat like it was something dead. That may sound dramatic to some people. But food is not just food when a mother makes it. Food is memory. Food is care. Food is standing over a stove with your feet hurting because you know your son loves the way you add nutmeg. Food is love in a dish. And that night, my love rode home untouched. When I got inside my house, I did not turn on all the lights. Just the kitchen light. It hummed softly above me. I put the sweet potatoes on the counter. Then I stood there looking at them. The house was quiet. Too quiet. There used to be noise in that house. Michael running down the hallway. Cartoons in the living room. His father laughing from the porch. The washing machine thumping because Michael forgot coins in his pockets. My life used to make sound. Now the silence had rooms. I took off my earrings and placed them near the sink. Then I pulled back the foil from the dish. The sweet potatoes still smelled warm. Brown sugar. Butter. Cinnamon. The way Michael liked them since he was little. When he was 8, he used to sneak into the kitchen before dinner and ask, "Mama, can I just taste one?" I would say, "No, boy, go wash your hands." Then I would slip one onto a spoon and let him eat it anyway. That memory hit me so hard I had to hold the counter. I did not cry at the dinner. I did not cry in the car. But standing in my kitchen with that untouched dish, I cried like somebody had finally given me permission. I cried for the missing chair. I cried for the folding chair. I cried for the announcement I had been invited to but not included in. I cried for the way Michael looked at me and still did not fix it. That was the part one could not move past. Tasha could do what Tasha did. Denise could say what Denise said. But Michael knew. He knew the family he had come from. He knew the woman who raised him. He knew how much that chair would hurt. And still, he let me sit there. Sometimes the deepest betrayal is not the loudest voice in the room. Sometimes it is the quiet person who knows better and lets it happen. The next morning, Michael called. I was sitting on the porch with coffee, watching the street wake up. My phone lit up. Michael. I let it ring 3 times before answering. That was new for me. Usually, I answered before the first ring finished, like my heart had been waiting by the phone. Hello. Mama? Good morning. He paused. You okay? I looked at the trees moving gently in the wind. That seems to be the question everyone asks after they hurt you. He was quiet. I surprised myself. I had not planned to say that. But truth sometimes walks out before fear can stop it. Mama, he said softly. Yes? I'm sorry about last night. I closed my eyes. For what? He sighed. The chair. I waited. And the dinner, he added. I still waited. And how it looked. I opened my eyes. How it looked? You know what I mean. No, Michael. I want you to say what you mean. He was quiet again. I could picture him standing in his kitchen, rubbing his forehead, trying to find words that did not make him responsible. Tasha didn't mean anything by it, he said. There it was. The husband's sentence. The one men use when they know exactly what was meant but hope their mothers will be kind enough to pretend. I took a slow breath. Michael, your wife had place cards, flowers, candles, a cake, and a full dinner prepared. She remembered everyone. She did not forget me. She thought you might not stay. Did you tell her I was coming? Yes. Did you tell her I was staying for dinner? He hesitated. Yes. Then why was there no chair? He did not answer. My coffee had gone cold in my hand. I set it down. Baby, I am not asking you to choose between me and your wife. I know. But I am asking you to stop asking me to act blind. His voice dropped. I didn't want drama. I almost laughed. That word. Drama. People will create a whole stage and then blame you for noticing the play. Drama was already there, I said. It was sitting at the table before I walked in. Mama, please. No, Michael. You had a chair at that table. I had a folding chair in the corner. Your wife's family heard about the baby like they were family. I heard about it like I was lucky to be in the room. He said nothing. My voice shook now, but I kept going. And when my grandson reached for me, she stopped him. He was eating. He said Gamma. Silence. I wiped my face. I am happy about the baby. I want you to hear that. I am happy. But I am hurt by how I was told. He exhaled slowly. I'm sorry. Are you sorry enough to change something? That question made the line go quiet. Not for 2 seconds. For a long time. Then he said, I don't know what you want me to do. I looked down at my hands. There it was. The question that made me tired. What do you want me to do? As if respect needed instructions. As if love required a checklist. As if a grown man could manage a business, pay a mortgage, lead meetings, raise a child, and still not know that his mother deserved a real chair at his table. I want you to see me, I said. His voice softened. Mama, I do see you. No, baby. You look at me. That is not the same. He made a sound like my words hurt him. Good. Some pain is not meant to destroy. Some pain is meant to wake people up. I have to go, I said. Mama, wait. I love you, Michael. But I have to go. I ended the call before he could make me soften. Then I sat on that porch and shook. Not because I was weak. Because speaking up after years of swallowing pain can feel like stepping out into cold air. You know you needed it. But your body still trembles. That afternoon, my sister Gloria came by. Gloria was older than me by 4 years and stronger than me by 20. She had buried one husband, divorced another, raised 3 daughters, and still wore red lipstick to the grocery store because she said life had already done its worst and she might as well look nice. She walked into my kitchen, saw the sweet potatoes, and stopped. Why is this dish full? I sighed. Because apparently my love was not on the menu. She turned slowly. What happened? I told her everything. The dinner. The missing chair. The announcement. The folding chair. Elijah reaching for me. Tasha's family calling themselves closest family. Michael apologizing but not really standing. Gloria listened without interrupting. That is how I knew she was angry. When Gloria is mildly upset, she talks. When she is truly angry, she gets quiet. When I finished, she sat down at the table. Then she said, "You know what I'm going to ask." "What?" "How long has this been happening?" I looked away. She tapped the table. "Lena." I swallowed. "A while." "How long is a while?" "Since they got married, maybe." 7 years? I said nothing. Her eyes softened, but her voice stayed firm. "Baby sister, why have you been sitting in corners for 7 years?" Tears filled my eyes. "Because I didn't want to lose him." Gloria reached across the table and took my hand. "Did staying quiet keep him?" That question broke something open. Because the truth was no. Staying quiet had not kept Michael close. It had only taught everyone that I would accept less. I wiped my eyes. "I just wanted peace." Gloria nodded. "I know. But sometimes what we call peace is just fear dressed nice." I looked at her. She continued. "You are afraid if you speak, they will push you away." "Yes. But they are already pushing you away." I cried then. Not loud. Just tears falling down my face while my sister held my hand. She let me cry. Then she said, "You need boundaries." "I don't want to be that kind of mother." "What kind?" "The kind that causes problems in her son's marriage." Gloria leaned back. "Lena, asking for respect is not causing problems. It is revealing them." I sat with that. Respect. Revealing. Problems. 3 words that felt heavier than they should. Gloria stayed for dinner. We ate the sweet potatoes with baked chicken I pulled from the freezer. She took one bite and said, "That girl is a fool. These are blessed." I laughed through my tears. That was the first laugh I had all day. After Gloria left, I sat at the table with a notebook. I wrote down what happened. Not because I planned to sue anyone or make a family case. I wrote it because I had spent years talking myself out of my own memory. That is what constant disrespect can do. You start asking yourself questions. Was it really that bad? Did she mean it? Am I overreacting? Maybe I misunderstood. So I wrote it plainly. Dinner at Michael and Tasha's. No chair for me. Folding chair in corner. Baby announcement. My food not served. Elijah reached for me. Tasha stopped him. Michael saw. Did not correct. Closest family comment. Then I closed the notebook. The truth looked different on paper. Less emotional. More obvious. A few days passed. Michael texted every morning. "Love you, Mama. Thinking about you. Can we talk soon?" I did not ignore him. But I did not rush to comfort him either. I answered simply. "Love you too. Not today. Soon." I needed time to hear myself before I listened to him again. Then Tasha called. That surprised me. She rarely called me directly unless she needed a babysitter or a recipe she later changed. I stared at her name on the screen. Then answered. "Hello, Tasha." "Mrs. Carter," she said brightly. Too brightly. "I wanted to check on you." "Check on me?" "Yes. Michael said you seemed upset after dinner." Seemed. Upset. Words that made my pain sound like a mood. "I was hurt," I said. She paused. "Well, I'm sorry you felt that way." There it was. The apology that does not bend its knees. "I'm sorry you felt that way." Not I'm sorry I did that. I sat straighter. Tasha, I did not feel a missing chair. There was one. Silence. Then she laughed lightly. I promise it wasn't that deep. That phrase made something in me go cold. It wasn't that deep. People only say that when they know it cut you and want to decide how much you are allowed to bleed. It was deep to me, I said. She sighed. I honestly thought you were just stopping by. I had no idea you expected a full seat. A full seat. As if I had asked for a throne. I expected the same thing every other guest had, I said. Well, my family was already confirmed. And I was not. Mrs. Carter, please don't twist my words. I don't have to twist them. They are clear enough. Her voice changed then. Just a little. Less sugar. More steel. I think sometimes you take things personally because you don't understand that Michael has his own family now. I closed my eyes. There it was. The real sentence under all the smaller ones. His own family now. As if I had been renting space in his life and the lease had expired. Tasha, I said calmly, Michael having a wife and children does not make me a stranger. I didn't say stranger. No. You just made sure there was no chair. She inhaled sharply. I can see this conversation isn't going anywhere. Not if truth makes you uncomfortable. She went silent. Then she said, I don't want tension during my pregnancy. I softened for the baby, not for the manipulation. I do not want tension either. I want respect. I respect you. No, baby. You are polite to me when others are watching. That is not the same. She did not like that. I need to go, she said. All right. Take care, Mrs. Carter. You too, Tasha. When I hung up, my hands were not shaking. That surprised me. Maybe because for once, I did not leave the conversation with my truth still trapped in my throat. That evening, Michael came to my house without calling. I saw his car pull into the driveway. My heart reacted before my pride did. I stood in the living room, smoothing my blouse like he was a boy coming home from school. When I opened the door, he looked tired. Mama. Michael. Can I come in? I stepped aside. He walked into the house and looked around. Same furniture. Same pictures. Same old clock ticking on the wall. A home full of the life he came from. He sat on the couch. I sat in the chair across from him. That was intentional. Not beside him. Across. So we could see each other. He rubbed his hands together. Tasha said you two talked. We did. She's upset. I imagine. She feels attacked. I took a breath. Michael, when someone names what hurt them, that is not always an attack. He looked down. I know. Do you? He nodded slowly. I'm trying to. I studied his face. He looked like the boy I knew and a man I was still learning. Mama, he said, I messed up. I waited. I knew there should have been a chair. Those words went through me. Not because they healed everything. Because he finally told the truth. I knew when I saw the table, he said. I knew it would hurt you. But I didn't want to embarrass Tasha in front of her family. I sat very still. So you let me be embarrassed instead. His eyes filled. Yes. That yes was painful. But it was honest. I nodded slowly. Thank you for telling the truth. He wiped his face. I'm sorry. I believe you. He looked relieved. But sorry is only the door, I said. It is not the whole house. He frowned, confused. I continued. What happens next matters more than the apology. He nodded. I know. Do you? I do. I leaned forward. Michael, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer me as a man, not as a son trying to calm his mother. He swallowed. Okay. Do you want me in your family? His face crumpled. Mama. No. Answer me. Of course I do. Then why do you allow me to be treated like an extra guest? I don't mean to. That is not what I asked. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, tears were there. Because it's easier to ask you to understand than to ask Tasha to change. There it was. The whole thing. The truth sitting between us in plain clothes. I looked at him for a long time. Then I said, I raised you to be brave. Not easy. He covered his face with one hand. I know. I am not asking you to fight your wife. I am asking you to be honest in your house. He nodded. I know. And I need boundaries now. He looked up quickly. What kind? I will not come to dinners where I am not clearly included. You are included. No. Clearly included. That means invited with respect. Given a seat. Told the truth about what the gathering is. Not called for, just a small dinner, when the whole purpose is a baby announcement. He looked ashamed. I didn't know she said that. I believe you. But you knew what the dinner was. He nodded. I did. And you let me walk in unprepared. I'm sorry. I continued. I will not bring food to be hidden. He closed his eyes. I didn't know she didn't serve it until later. But you saw I brought it. Yes. You could have asked. He nodded. I should have. And I will not accept being kept away from Elijah as punishment for speaking up. His head lifted. Mama, nobody is punishing you. I held his eyes. Not yet. He looked away. Because we both knew Tasha well enough. I softened my voice. I love your wife because she is your wife. I want her healthy. I want this pregnancy peaceful. I want your home strong. But I will not buy peace with my dignity anymore. He cried then. Quietly. My son, my grown boy, sitting on my couch with his head in his hands. I wanted to move beside him. I wanted to hold him. But something told me to stay still. Mothers are quick to comfort, and sometimes we comfort people out of accountability. So I let him feel it. After a while, he said, I don't know how to fix this. One honest conversation at a time. She'll say I'm choosing you. Then tell her you are choosing respect. He looked at me. And if she doesn't hear that? Then you will learn something important. He nodded slowly. When he left, he hugged me. Not a quick hug. A real one. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. After he drove away, I stood by the window and watched his taillights disappear. I did not know what would happen next. But I knew one thing. The missing chair had made me see the missing truth. And now that I had seen it, I could not go back to pretending. For 2 weeks after Michael came to my house, everything got quiet. Too quiet. No invitations. No baby updates. No pictures of Elijah. No little videos of him singing in the bathtub or throwing cereal on the floor. Before, Tasha used to send those when she wanted to remind me what I was missing. Now she sent nothing. Michael called once, but he sounded distracted. I asked about Elijah. He said, he's good. Good. One word. I asked about the baby. He said, Tasha's tired. Tired. Another wall. I did not push. Not because I was afraid. Because I was learning the difference between reaching out and chasing. When you chase people who are holding your love hostage, they learn to run farther. So I stayed still. That does not mean it was easy. Every morning, I wanted to text. Every evening, I wanted to call. My hands would reach for the phone before my pride could stop them. Then I would remind myself. Love does not beg for permission to exist. I prayed a lot in those 2 weeks. Not pretty prayers. Honest ones. Lord, help me not be bitter. Lord, protect my son. Lord, keep my grandchildren safe. Lord, keep my mouth from becoming a weapon, but don't let my silence become a cage. That last prayer became my daily one. Because I knew myself. I knew pain can turn sharp if you feed it long enough. I did not want to become cruel. But I also did not want to return to being convenient. On the third Sunday, after church, Gloria came over with fried chicken and a look on her face. What did you do? I asked. Why do you assume I did something? Because you brought chicken and attitude. She set the bag on my counter. I saw Tasha's mother at the pharmacy. I sighed. Lord. She had plenty to say. I'm sure. Gloria washed her hands and started opening containers like she owned my kitchen. She said you're making things difficult during Tasha's pregnancy. I sat down slowly. Did she? She also said Michael is stressed because you're making him choose sides. I closed my eyes. People love accusing you of making someone choose when all you did was stop letting them choose disrespect. What did you say? I asked. Gloria smiled. I said, Denise, if a chair is a side, then your family needs a bigger table. Despite everything, I laughed. Gloria put chicken on a plate. But listen to me, Lena. They are building a story. What story? That you are emotional, difficult, jealous, maybe even unsafe around the pregnancy. My stomach dropped. Unsafe? I'm not saying they said that word. I'm saying I know how these things grow. I looked toward the window. The afternoon sun was bright, but I felt cold. This was what I had feared. Not just being excluded. Being made the reason for my exclusion. Gloria sat across from me. You need to stay calm. Write everything down. Keep messages. Don't give them anything they can twist. I nodded. I don't want a war. I know. But if someone is throwing rocks at your window, you don't stand there pretending it's rain. I looked at my sister. She was right. Again. That evening, I opened my notebook and wrote. No contact from Tasha since phone call. Michael vague. No pictures of Elijah. Gloria heard Denise saying I'm making things difficult. I hated writing it. It made everything feel bigger. But I knew memory needed help when emotions were involved. A few days later, Michael texted. Can you come over Saturday? We need to talk. My heart jumped. Then sank. We need to talk never sounds good. I typed back. What is this about? He replied. Family stuff. Please. I thought for a long time. Then I wrote. I can come. I will not stay if I am disrespected. He did not answer for several minutes. Then. I understand. Saturday came slowly. I wore a soft gray dress and low shoes. No food. No gifts. No dish in my hands to prove my love. Just me. When I arrived, Tasha opened the door. She looked tired, yes. Pregnancy had softened her face, but not her eyes. Mrs. Carter. Tasha. She stepped aside. Michael was in the living room, standing near the fireplace. Elijah was not there. I looked around. Where's Elijah? With my mom, Tasha said. Of course. I sat in the armchair. Michael sat on the couch. Tasha sat beside him and placed one hand on her belly. Not gently. Strategically. Like a shield. Michael began. Mama, we wanted to talk about boundaries. I almost smiled. Boundaries. A word people often discover after they have crossed yours. All right, I said. Tasha spoke next. We feel like there has been tension. There has. And with the baby coming, I really need peace. So do I. She blinked. I'm glad we agree. I waited. She continued. I think it would be best if visits are planned ahead and limited for a while. Just until things settle. I looked at Michael. He looked uncomfortable. What does limited mean? I asked. Tasha folded her hands. Maybe once a month. Once a month. I kept my face still. To see Elijah? To visit as a family, she said. As a family, I repeated. Michael looked at the floor. I turned to him. Is this what you want? He rubbed his hands together. I think we need structure. Structure. That sounded like a word handed to him. I nodded slowly. What did I do that requires limiting me to once a month? Tasha sighed. It's not punishment. Then answer the question. She looked at Michael. He said, Mama, it's not about one thing. It is about the fact that I spoke up. Tasha's face tightened. That is unfair. I looked at her. Tasha, before I spoke up, you allowed me around when it worked for you. After I spoke up, suddenly we need structure. I am old, baby, but I'm not slow. Her cheeks flushed. Michael said, Mama. No, let's be honest. I am willing to respect your home. I am willing to plan visits. I am willing to follow reasonable rules around the children. But I will not pretend this is about peace when it is really about control. Tasha stood. I knew this would happen. I looked up at her. What would happen? You always act like I'm attacking you. No. I act like you are accountable for what you do. She laughed once, bitterly. You think because you're his mother, everything should revolve around you. I stood too, slowly. No, Tasha. I think because I am his mother, I should not be treated like a threat for wanting a chair. Michael flinched. Tasha looked at him. Are you going to say something? He stood. For a moment, the room balanced on his silence. I watched him. This was the moment. Not dramatic. Not loud. But important. Michael looked at his wife. Then at me. Then back at her. Tasha, he said quietly, Mama is right about the chair. Her mouth opened. He continued, voice shaking. And about the dinner. We should have told her it was an announcement. She should have had a seat. Her food should have been served. And I should have handled it that night. Tasha stared at him like he had betrayed her. Maybe in her mind, he had. But in mine, he had finally arrived. Michael, she whispered. I love you, he said. But loving you doesn't mean pretending Mama wasn't hurt. Tasha's eyes filled with tears. You're choosing her. He shook his head. No. I'm choosing the truth. The room went silent. I felt tears burn behind my eyes. Not because everything was fixed. Because my son had spoken. Tasha sat down slowly. Her hand went to her belly. For a second, I saw fear in her face. Real fear. Not manipulation. Fear. And it softened me just enough to listen. She whispered, I don't know how to share my family. I looked at her. Michael sat beside her, but did not rescue her from the sentence. Good. She needed to say more. Tasha wiped her eyes angrily, like she hated that they were wet. My mother was always pushed aside by my father's family, she said. Always. They treated her like she was just the wife. Like their blood mattered more than her. When I had Elijah, I promised myself nobody would make me feel like a guest in my own family. I sat down slowly. That was the first time Tasha had given me a story instead of a rule. She continued, voice trembling. And then you came with all these traditions. All this history. Michael loving your cooking, your way, your advice. Everyone saying a boy needs his mother. And I felt like if I didn't make space for myself, I would disappear. I looked at Michael. His face was full of guilt. Then I looked back at her. Tasha, I said softly, making space for yourself did not require removing my chair. She cried then. Not dramatically. Quietly. I know, she whispered. Those two words changed the room. I know. Not excuses. Not, you misunderstood. I know. I sat back, letting the truth settle. Michael put his hand on hers. She let him. I said, I never wanted to take your place. She nodded. I know that now. But you treated me like I did. She looked down. Yes. That yes mattered. I breathed slowly. And Michael, I said. He looked at me. You used silence to keep peace. But silence can become agreement. He nodded. I know. Tasha wiped her face. I'm sorry about the chair. I held her eyes. Thank you. And the sweet potatoes. My mouth twitched, almost a smile. Those sweet potatoes suffered greatly. Michael laughed softly through tears. Even Tasha gave a small broken laugh. The room loosened. Just a little. Not healed. But loosened. We talked for almost 2 hours. Real talk. Messy talk. Tasha admitted she had been keeping me at a distance partly because she feared being overshadowed. Michael admitted he had avoided hard conversations because he hated conflict. I admitted I had swallowed too much and then expected them to understand pain I had not fully named. That did not make their actions my fault. But healing requires everybody to tell the truth about their part. We agreed on visits. Not once a month. Not unlimited. Every other Sunday dinner, planned ahead, with flexibility. I could call or video chat with Elijah during the week. I would not drop by unannounced. They would not use the children as punishment when adult feelings got hard. Tasha agreed to speak directly instead of making rules through Michael. Michael agreed to stop hiding behind the word peace. Before I left, Tasha went into the kitchen. She returned with a small container. I made sweet potatoes yesterday, she said. They're not like yours. I looked at the container. Then at her. I'll try them. She smiled faintly. I was hoping maybe you could teach me yours sometime. That was not a full apology. But it was an opening. I took the container. We can talk about it. Michael walked me to the door. On the porch, he looked tired but lighter. Mama, he said, thank you for coming. I almost didn't. I know. You did better today. His eyes filled. I should have done better sooner. Yes. He nodded. I know. I touched his cheek. You are grown, Michael. I cannot teach you the same lesson forever. I know, Mama. Then live it. He hugged me. This time, when I drove home, I cried. But the tears were different. Not only hurt. Relief too. Because sometimes all a mother needs is not to be placed first. Just not placed last. For a little while, things improved. Not perfectly. But enough to breathe. Tasha sent me a picture of Elijah the next morning. He was sitting at the kitchen table with oatmeal on his face, grinning like he had solved all the world's problems. The message said. He asked for Gamma. I stared at those 4 words until my eyes blurred. He asked for Gamma. Not a grand speech. Not a full repair. But a bridge. I texted back. Tell my baby Gamma loves him. A few minutes later, my phone rang with a video call. Elijah's face filled the screen. Gamma, he yelled. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. There's my sweet boy. He showed me a toy truck, half a banana, and one sock. Children have their own sense of importance. Tasha was in the background. She looked tired but softer. Say bye, Elijah. No. I laughed. That's all right. Gamma will talk to you soon. After the call ended, I sat with the phone in my lap and thanked God. Not because everything was fixed. Because a door had opened. The first every other Sunday dinner at my house went well. I cooked chicken, rice, greens, and yes, sweet potatoes. Tasha came into the kitchen while I was stirring. Can I help? I looked at her. She looked nervous. I handed her a spoon. Taste this. She did. Her eyes widened. Okay, mine definitely did not taste like that. I smiled. You forgot the orange zest. Orange zest? Why didn't you tell me that before? You never asked. She looked at me. Then laughed softly. Fair. Michael sat in the living room with Elijah, building blocks and pretending not to listen. But I saw his shoulders relax. Dinner was warm. Elijah sat in his booster seat and got rice everywhere. Michael helped clear plates without being asked. Tasha complimented the greens. I complimented her salad. No one said anything sharp. No one took a hidden swing. It was a good day. And because it was good, I had to remind myself not to rush. A starving heart will try to feast on the first crumb of kindness. I told myself, slow down, Lena. Let consistency prove what one nice dinner cannot. Over the next months, we kept trying. Some Sundays were easy. Some were not. Tasha still had moments where her voice tightened if Michael and I laughed over old memories too long. I noticed. This time, I did not shrink. I would gently turn the conversation. Tasha, did Michael ever tell you about the time he put my car keys in the cereal box? She would laugh. Involving her helped. Not because I was responsible for her insecurity. But because I was learning that making room goes both ways. Tasha tried too. When she made doctor appointments, she told me afterward. Not every detail. I did not need every detail. But she included me. The baby is healthy, she would say. That was enough. One afternoon, she called and asked if I wanted to come with her to look at baby blankets. I almost dropped the phone. Me? She laughed nervously. Yes, you. Unless you hate blankets. I have strong opinions about blankets. I figured. We went to a baby store together. Just us. No Michael. At first, it was awkward. We walked through aisles of tiny clothes and soft things, both pretending to be casual. Then Tasha picked up a yellow blanket. What do you think? I touched it. Soft. But too thin for winter. She nodded seriously. What about this one? Too heavy. She smiled. You're picky. I'm experienced. We both laughed. At the register, she said, I want this baby to know you. I looked at her. She kept her eyes on the blanket. I know I made that harder with Elijah. I'm sorry. The store noise faded around me. I appreciate you saying that. She nodded. I mean it. I believe you. And I did. Not fully. But more than before. Then, at 7 months pregnant, Tasha had complications. Nothing too severe at first, but enough to scare everyone. Her blood pressure went up. The doctor told her to rest more. Michael called me one evening, panic in his voice. Mama, they want her off her feet. Okay. I don't know how to do everything. I heard the fear under his words. Not just about chores. About losing control. About something happening to his wife or baby. I said, tell me what you need. He went quiet. Before, he might have said nothing and then fallen apart. This time, he said, can you come tomorrow and help with Elijah for a few hours? Yes. Then he added quickly, if you can. I can. When I arrived the next morning, Tasha was on the couch, feet up, looking pale and frustrated. I hate this, she said. I know. I'm not good at resting. Most women aren't. We've been taught to call exhaustion responsibility. She looked at me. That is too true. I took Elijah to the park. We played, came home, ate lunch, and I put him down for a nap. Then I cleaned the kitchen while Tasha slept. I did not reorganize. I did not criticize. I did not move things around to show I knew better. That mattered. When she woke, she looked around. You didn't have to clean. I know. Thank you. You're welcome. She watched me for a moment. My mother would have rearranged everything. I smiled gently. Then I won't. Her eyes filled. Pregnancy tears, maybe. Or something deeper. Thank you, she whispered. Over the next few weeks, I helped twice a week. Not every day. We kept boundaries. I came when asked. I left when the time was done. Sometimes Tasha asked me to stay for tea. Sometimes she needed quiet. I respected both. Respect grows best when it is practiced in small daily ways. Then one Friday afternoon, Tasha called me crying. Not polite crying. Real crying. Mrs. Carter, she said, then stopped. I heard her breathe. Miss Lena, she corrected. That was the first time she called me that. Miss Lena. I sat down. Yes, baby. I'm scared. What happened? The doctor said if my pressure doesn't come down, they may deliver early. My heart tightened. Where is Michael? On his way from work. Do you want me to come? She hesitated. Then whispered, yes. I'm coming. At the hospital, Tasha lay in a bed with monitors strapped around her belly. Michael stood beside her, looking terrified. Her mother Denise was there too, pacing and asking questions in a way that made the nurse's face tight. When I walked in, Tasha reached for my hand. Not Denise's. Mine. I saw Denise notice. For a moment, I expected sharpness. But her face only showed fear. I took Tasha's hand. I'm here. She cried. I don't want anything to happen to the baby. I know. What if I did something wrong? You didn't. What if my body can't? No, I said gently but firmly. We are not blaming your body today. We are listening to doctors and praying. She squeezed my hand. Michael stood on the other side of the bed, tears in his eyes. I looked at him. Breathe, baby. He nodded but did not breathe. I said, Michael. He inhaled. Good. 4 hours, we waited. Doctors came and went. Monitors beeped. Denise sat in the corner, quiet now. At one point, she looked at me and said, she asked for you. I looked at her. Yes. Her mouth tightened, but not in anger. Maybe in humility. She doesn't ask for people easily. I know. Denise looked down. I may have misjudged you. I almost said something sharp. Lord knows I had options. But hospital rooms have a way of making pride look small. So I said, we both love her. We can start there. Denise nodded. Tasha's pressure finally stabilized enough that they did not deliver that night. She stayed for observation. When I got home after midnight, I was exhausted. But I felt something shift. Not because fear had brought us together. Fear can bring people into the same room without making them family. What shifted was this. Tasha had reached for me when she was scared. And I had come. Not as a rival. Not as an outsider. As someone who loved her husband, her child, and now, whether I wanted to admit it or not, her too. A month later, the baby came early but healthy. A little girl. Small, loud, and strong. They named her Maya Rose. When Michael called me from the hospital, he was crying. "Mama, she's here." I sat on the edge of my bed. "Is she okay?" "She's okay. Tasha's okay." I covered my mouth and thanked God. Then he said, "Tasha wants you to come. Not, you can come. Not, if you want. She wants you to come." I got dressed faster than a woman my age should move. At the hospital, Tasha looked tired beyond words. But when I entered, she smiled. A real smile. "Miss Lena," she whispered. I walked to the bed. Michael placed tiny Maya in my arms. She was so small, wrapped in a pink blanket, her little mouth moving like she was already trying to tell somebody what to do. I laughed softly. "Hello, sweet girl." Tasha watched me. Then she said, "I'm sorry your chair was missing." The words came out of nowhere. Michael looked at her. Denise, sitting near the window, looked down. I looked at Tasha. Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know why I'm thinking about that now," she said. "But when they handed her to me, I thought, one day she might have a son. Or a daughter. And I hope nobody makes her feel like she doesn't have a place." My throat tightened. I held Maya close. "Tasha." "No," she said softly. "I need to say it. I was wrong." The room got quiet. "I was scared," she said. "But I was wrong." Tears slipped down my face. I nodded. "Thank you." She reached for my hand. "I want my children to have both grandmothers. Not one in the center and one in the corner." That sentence healed something in me. Not everything. But something. Denise wiped her eyes. Then, to my surprise, she said, "I'm sorry too, Lena." I looked at her. I should have made space instead of helping take it. That apology came late. But late truth is still truth. I nodded. "Thank you, Denise." Michael stood there crying like he was the one who had given birth. I looked at him and smiled. "Pull yourself together, son." He laughed through tears. "I can't. I see that." For the first time in a long time, we all laughed in the same room without anyone being the joke. And I thought, maybe this is what repair looks like. Not a perfect table. But people finally willing to bring the missing chair back. The first family dinner after Maya was born was at my house. That was Tasha's idea. Not Michael's. Not mine. Hers. She called me 2 weeks after coming home from the hospital. Her voice sounded tired, with the baby crying softly in the background. "Miss Lena," she said, "when I feel better, can we have dinner at your house?" I smiled into the phone. "Of course. And can we bring my parents?" I paused. Not because I wanted to say no. Because I remembered every dinner where I had felt small beside them. Then I thought of Denise in the hospital, wiping her eyes and apologizing. People are allowed to grow. But you are also allowed to move slowly while they prove it. "Yes," I said. "They can come." Tasha exhaled. "Thank you." "But Tasha?" "Yes?" At my table, everybody has a chair. She was quiet for a second. Then she said softly, "I know." The dinner happened 6 weeks later. I prepared all day, but not with the old desperate feeling. Before, I cooked like food could earn me a place. This time, I cooked because I wanted to. Chicken. Greens. Rice. Macaroni. Sweet potatoes. A small salad because Tasha liked salad. And peach cobbler because Gloria said every family repair needed butter. I set the table carefully. Not fancy. Just warm. I counted the chairs. 1 for me. 1 for Michael. 1 for Tasha. 1 for Denise. 1 for Tasha's father, Robert. 1 for Gloria. A booster seat for Elijah. A little bassinet near the table for Maya. No folding chair. No corner seat. No maybe. When Michael and Tasha arrived, Elijah ran inside first. Gamma. I bent down and opened my arms. He nearly knocked me over. There's my boy. He smelled like baby shampoo and outside air. Michael came in carrying Maya. Tasha followed slowly, still healing, holding a diaper bag and a look of nervous hope. I hugged her gently. Come in, baby. She closed her eyes for a moment. Maybe because I called her baby. Maybe because she needed it more than she expected. Denise and Robert arrived next. Denise carried flowers. Not the stiff grocery store kind you grab at the last second. Real flowers. Yellow roses and white lilies. For your table, she said. I took them. Thank you. Gloria arrived last, wearing purple and suspicion. She hugged Michael, kissed Elijah, peeked at Maya, then whispered to me, everybody behaving? So far. I brought my good earrings just in case. Gloria. What? They make me look trustworthy. During dinner, the room was full in a way my house had not been full for years. Elijah spilled juice. Michael jumped up for napkins. Tasha laughed instead of panicking. Maya made tiny baby sounds from her bassinet. Denise asked for the sweet potatoes recipe. Gloria said, you have to earn that. Denise smiled. I'm trying. I looked at her. Maybe she was. After dinner, Tasha helped me in the kitchen. I told her to sit down, but she said she wanted to stand for a minute. She picked up a towel and dried plates slowly. I was nervous coming here, she admitted. I know. I thought maybe Gloria would throw something at me. I laughed. She considered it spiritually. Tasha laughed too. Then she got quiet. Miss Lena, I need to ask you something. Yes? How did you keep from hating me? That question sat heavy between us. I rinsed a plate. I didn't always. She looked at me. I set the plate down. There were moments I hated what you did. Hated how small you made me feel. Hated that my son let it happen. Hate visited me. I just didn't let it move in. Tasha's eyes filled. I deserved worse than you gave me. Maybe. She looked surprised. I continued. But giving you worse would not have made me better. She wiped her eyes with the towel. I don't want to be that woman anymore. Then don't be. I'm trying. I can see that. She nodded, crying softly. I want my daughter to watch me make room. That touched me. Then she will. In the living room, Michael and Robert were talking. Gloria was holding Maya like she had personally ordered her from heaven, and Elijah was lining toy cars on my coffee table. I watched them from the kitchen. This was not the family I imagined years ago. It was messier. More complicated. A little bruised. But it was real. And real can still be beautiful. Over the next year, things changed. Slowly. That is the honest part. Nobody became perfect. Tasha still had control issues sometimes. Denise still said things with edges. Michael still avoided conflict if he was tired. And I still had moments where old hurt rose up before the present could prove it was different. But now, we talked. When Tasha planned Maya's first birthday, she called me early. "Miss Lena, I want you to help with the food if you're comfortable." I smiled. "What are you thinking?" "Sweet potatoes." I laughed. "For a 1-year-old's birthday?" "Okay, maybe not. But I feel like they deserve a redemption moment." "They do." At the party, there was a long table in the backyard. Lots of chairs. When I arrived, Elijah grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the table. "Gamma, you sit here." There, near the center, was a chair with a small card. "Grandma Lena." I touched it with my fingertips. Tasha stood nearby holding Maya. Our eyes met. She smiled softly. Not with pride. With understanding. I sat down. Not because a chair defines your worth. But because sometimes a chair tells you whether people remembered it. That day, they remembered. Later, as we sang Happy Birthday, Maya smashed cake into her own hair, and everyone laughed. Michael stood beside me. He leaned down and whispered, "Mama, I'm glad you're here." I looked up at him. "So am I." He took my hand. "I'm sorry I made you wonder." I squeezed his fingers. "Just don't make me wonder again." He nodded. "I won't." I believed him. Not because he promised. Because he had been showing me. That is the difference between words and repair. Words knock. Repair walks in and sits down. One evening, months after Maya's birthday, Michael came over alone. He found me in the garden pulling weeds. He rolled up his sleeves and helped without being asked. For a while, we worked quietly. Then he said, "Mama, can I tell you something?" "Always." He pulled a weed from the dirt. "I was angry with you for speaking up." I looked at him. "I know." He smiled sadly. "You knew? I raised you. Your face still tells on you." He shook his head. "I told myself you were making my life harder." I figured. "But really, I was mad because you made it impossible for me to keep pretending." I sat back on my heels. That was a big truth. He continued. "I thought if I kept everyone calm, I was being a good husband and a good son. But I wasn't calm. I was scared." "Of what?" "Losing my wife. Disappointing you. Being like Dad. Not holding the family together." His father had been gone many years, but grief still had roots. I softened. "Baby, holding a family together does not mean tying truth outside." He nodded slowly. "I know that now." We pulled weeds until the basket was full. Then we sat on the porch with lemonade. He looked toward the street. "When Dad died, I thought I had to become the man of the house." "You were 17. "I know. But I thought if I couldn't fix things, I was failing you." I reached for his hand. "You never had to be my husband, Michael. You were my son." His eyes filled. I think I carried that into my marriage. Like every woman's feelings were my job to manage. I squeezed his hand. "That is too heavy for any man." "I'm learning." "I see that." He smiled faintly. "Tasha says therapy is making me talk too much." "Good." He laughed. We sat there as the sun went down, not needing to fix everything in one conversation. That is another thing I learned. Healing is not one big speech. It is many small honest moments stacked on top of each other until trust has somewhere to stand. As for Tasha and me, we became something I did not expect. Not mother and daughter exactly. Not friends in the way Gloria and I were. But family. Real family. The kind made not only by marriage, but by repair. She called me when Maya took her first steps. She sent me videos of Elijah singing loudly and off-key. She asked my opinion sometimes and ignored it other times. That was fine. A daughter-in-law does not have to obey you to respect you. And a mother-in-law does not have to control to matter. One Saturday, Tasha invited me to lunch. Just us. No children. No Michael. We went to a small restaurant with yellow walls and good soup. She looked nervous again, the way she had at the coffee meeting months before. What is it? I asked. She smiled. You always know. I'm old. You're not old. I am experienced. She laughed. Then she took a breath. My mother and I had a hard conversation. I waited. I told her I don't want her making comments about you anymore. Or about Michael's loyalty. Or about my place versus your place. I studied her face. How did she take it? Badly. I'm sorry. I'm not. That surprised me. Tasha stirred her soup. I love my mother. But I realized she was teaching me to protect myself by pushing people away before they could hurt me. I nodded. That kind of teaching usually comes from a wound. I know. But I can't pass that to Maya. There it was again. Her daughter making her braver. She'll thank you one day, I said. I hope so. She may not say it until she's grown. Tasha groaned. That's too long. I smiled. Motherhood is mostly waiting. She looked at me then. Really looked. I understand you more now. Those words touched me. Motherhood will do that. She reached across the table. I'm glad my kids have you. I took her hand. I'm glad they have you too. And I meant it. There was a time I would have said that just to be kind. Now I said it because I had seen her grow. A woman should be known for more than her worst season. So should I. Because I had my own flaws too. I had to admit that I sometimes expected Michael to know what I needed without telling him. I expected him to read the pain behind my smile. I expected Tasha to understand traditions she had not lived. I expected love to explain itself without words. That was not fair either. Pain may explain our silence. It does not always excuse it. Now, when something bothers me, I speak sooner. Not harshly. Not dramatically. Sooner. If a holiday plan hurts, I say, let's talk about it. If I feel left out, I ask, was that intentional? If I miss the children, I say, I'd love to see them this week. What works for you? Simple words. Adult words. Dignified words. It is amazing how much pain grows from things never said. One Sunday evening, after dinner at Michael and Tasha's, Elijah asked a question that stopped the whole table. He was 5 by then, full of questions and peanut butter. Gamma, he said, why do you always sit there? I looked at my chair. It was near the center of the table. I smiled. I don't know, baby. Why? He shrugged. Because you family. The room got quiet. Tasha looked down. Michael closed his eyes. Denise, who had joined us that evening, wiped her mouth with a napkin and said softly, that's right. I looked at Elijah. His face was innocent. Children can speak truth so simply adults feel embarrassed by how long it took them to learn it. Yes, I said. Because I'm family. Maya banged a spoon on her tray. Fammy. Everyone laughed. But I had tears in my eyes. Not sad tears. Full circle tears. Because once upon a time, there had been no chair. Now even the child knew where I belonged. That night, when I got home, I opened my notebook. The same notebook where I had written the painful details after the dinner. I turned to a new page and wrote. Today Elijah said I sit near the center because I am family. Then I closed the notebook. Sometimes you need to record the healing too. Not just the hurt. Hurt demands attention. Healing deserves memory. Now, when I think back to that night with the missing chair, I do not only feel pain. I feel gratitude for the woman I became after it. That may sound strange. I would not choose to be hurt. I would not choose the embarrassment, the folding chair, the untouched dish, the baby announcement that made me feel like an outsider. But pain showed me where I had abandoned myself. It showed me how many times I had smiled when I should have spoken. It showed me that loving my son did not require disappearing inside his new family. It showed me that peace without respect is just silence wearing a pretty dress. And it showed my son something too. It showed him that a man cannot build a healthy home by asking the women in his life to pretend. He had to learn that love is not proven by avoiding hard conversations. Love is proven by having them with honesty. Tasha learned that making room for me did not make her smaller. She learned that my history with Michael was not a threat to her future with him. She learned that a family table can stretch when people stop guarding their fear. And I learned that boundaries are not walls against love. They are doors with handles. They let love come in respectfully. They also let you leave when respect is missing. That is the lesson I carry now. If your chair is missing from a table where you know you should belong, do not let people convince you that you are wrong for noticing. Notice. Breathe. Speak. Do not throw the table over. Do not beg for scraps. Do not shrink yourself into a corner just to make others comfortable. Stand in your dignity and say, I belong to this family, but I also belong to myself. Because sometimes the missing chair is not really about furniture. It is about truth. It is about whether people see you. Whether they value you. Whether they expect you to be grateful for being almost included. And almost included is still excluded. I am not saying every daughter-in-law is wrong. I am not saying every mother-in-law is innocent. Families are complicated. We all bring old wounds to new tables. But I know this. A wife should not have to erase a mother to feel secure. A mother should not have to compete with a wife to feel loved. A son should not hide behind peace while disrespect sets the table. And children should not grow up watching adults use love like a seat someone has to fight for. Love makes room. Fear counts chairs. Love says, sit down, we saved you a place. Fear says, we thought you were just stopping by. Love serves the dish you brought. Fear sends it home untouched. Love tells the truth before pain has to shout. That small dinner was not small. It showed me everything. It showed me where I stood. It showed me what I had allowed. It showed me who needed to grow. And in the end, it gave us a chance to become better. Not because the chair was missing. But because I finally stopped pretending I did not see it. Now, when my family gathers, I do not look for my chair with fear. I know where it is. Sometimes it is at my house. Sometimes it is at Michael's. Sometimes it is beside Tasha, with Maya on my lap and Elijah stealing cornbread from my plate. But wherever it is, I sit down knowing this. I am not a guest in the love I helped build. I am not a problem to be managed. I am not an old chapter to be closed. I am Lena Carter. I am Michael's mother. I am Tasha's mother-in-law. I am Elijah and Maya's Gamma. I am a woman who learned to speak after years of swallowing pain. And if there is one thing I would tell any mother, any grandmother, any woman sitting in a corner pretending the folding chair does not hurt, it is this. Your dignity is not too much to ask for. Your love is not a burden. Your place matters. And when people truly want you at the table, they do not make you search for a chair. They pull one out before you arrive.